I grew up Sikh. I would go to the Gurdwara, the Sikh temple. I've done Nam Simran. I've taken, sitting there and doing all the chanting. I've done everything. But the yoga, followed by this meditation, the long EkOngkar, it was the first time that I understood and experienced what mantra is. You build a nervous system and you are able to focus the breath where you want to take it. So you are able to make choices for yourself. And you understand the concept of nature of choice. So when you choose something, you understand that it's going to create a new karma or new karma. So that karma that you create will bring a new reality to you.
Welcome to this new episode, and today I am here with Raj, who is a Kundalini Yoga teacher. How are you, Raj?
Good. Satnam, thank you for having me. Sat Sri Akal, actually. They're both greetings. Satnam became more common with Kundalini Yoga, and Sat Sri Akal is a Sikh greeting. So I greet you with both.
Thank you very much. Kundalini Yoga is one of my favorite types of practice, and I was lucky enough to learn it from different teachers, and Raj is a very good, strong yoga teacher here in Copenhagen. Raj, what is your story in life?
I'm a Punjabi Sikh, but I'm a third generation Thai Sikh. That means that my grandfather moved here after the India-Pakistan separation, settled down in Bangkok. And my father was born here. He's a Thai citizen. And then I was born here. My mother is actually a Punjabi Sikh from Singapore. So I grew up in Bangkok as a Thai Sikh my whole life. I went to international schools there. And then I actually spent a good formative years of my life in the United States, in Virginia in particular. That's where I went to college. I spent a year in Miami. And then 9/11 kind of happened, and staying in the US looking like me wasn't a very good wasn't a very feasible sort of option. It made more sense for me to come back to Thailand, and I was working with the family business for very long. I lived a good life. I mean, I have nothing to really complain about. And then I kind of got injured around 12 or 13 years ago playing soccer, and I was basically having a slip disc and a cracked back, and that's actually how my whole yoga journey starts. I was told I had to do surgery. I was taking this medicine called arcoxia. Do you know of this medicine? Mm-hmm. It's like a nerve sort of thing. I was taking a painkiller. And I was doing this for 3 to 4 months. And every time the doctor would tell me, we don't want to conclude yet, you keep taking these pills until the inflammation gets better. Now back then I knew nothing about diet. I knew nothing about yoga. I knew nothing really. I was just your average consumerist. So I thought, no, it can't be. I have to do something to take care of myself. So I started doing a hatha yoga practice at my gym. That's where I started. Mm-hmm. And then I really liked it. I got into it. I thought maybe I would do an Ashtanga yoga teacher training. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing white Sikhs wearing these things, and I was like, who are these guys? What type of yoga do they do? Since I'm already interested in going into TTC to learn to become a teacher, I thought I would learn a little bit about them. And then I saw, it's a Sikh man who went there. Okay, let me try this yoga, because their mantras are the mantras I'm already familiar with.
Yogi Bhajan.
Yeah, Yogi Bhajan, Bhajan Singh Yogi. That was a name that I knew him as the first time.
The founder of Kundalini Yoga.
The founder of Kundalini Yoga in the United States. And so I went to my first class. It was in Bangkok. It was in Sukhumvit, Soi 50, I think. The teacher's name was Sheila. Her spiritual or Kundalini Yoga name was Sundarta. Mm-hmm. And first class, man, it's weird. You go in, there's a teacher sitting there. She's, wearing all whites. Like, Sikhs don't normally dress like that. Mm-hmm. There are different sects or sampardas of Sikhs who do, but to see it like that was odd. To go through the class was really odd, because Kundalini Yoga is a different sort of experience in the field of yoga. So there's a lot of spinal movements, there's a lot of things going on, and this breath
Breath of fire.
Breath of fire, a lot of it, more than I was used to. And then we chanted at the end of class. And I grew up Sikh. I would go to the Gurdwara, the Sikh temple. I've done Nam Simran. I've taken, sitting there and doing all the chanting. I've done everything. But the yoga, followed by this meditation, the long EkOngkar, it was the first time that I understood and experienced what mantra is. It was the first time that I could feel the vortex of sound, and I didn't know what it was at that time.
Was it more like a physical sensation as well, or a spiritual sensation?
Both. Because physically I no longer felt my body. Spiritually, I was taken into this vortex, and I could almost feel in that one experience the experiences of my ancestors to come, not even that far, like from my grandfather and his father, deciding somehow to leave Pakistan, coming here, sitting, and I just went through all that emotion. I didn't even know I had that inside me, and it came out. And when I came out, I was like, this is nuts. I'm not doing this yoga. It's too crazy. And I left it for, I think, another month before I was like, let me go back there.
So it took you a month to integrate this experience and say, okay, I want to go for it.
Yeah, I would say that. And I think within 1.5 years of doing that, I had completed my TTC, and I was teaching in Bangkok, and I had even converted my home into a yoga studio called Sky Yoga.
Yes, that was your studio in Bangkok, right?
That was my studio in Bangkok. We were never a full-time studio. We were always a home studio. We had always done our classes by donation. We always wanted to create a community of students and teachers, which we started actually from 2018. We were starting to get momentum. Then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So after that, I closed down the studio. It was unfeasible to stay in Bangkok. I think there's no certainty. There's a lot of fear in the environment around, and I came to Koh Phangan.
That's a lovely story indeed, and I am very interested in delving a little bit more into the Kundalini Yoga system, because of course I tried many types of yoga, if you want to call it, and I have to say indeed Kundalini Yoga is something very, very special. So if you do Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Vinyasa, Iyengar, they all follow more or less the same teachings with more focus on one aspect or the other, whilst Kundalini Yoga is certainly a system which is unique in itself. So you mentioned already the mantras, you mentioned the breath of fire and sort of the breath work or the pranayamas, that is very there. And I remember one of the first time doing Kundalini Yoga, they asked me to keep my arm raised for like, I think 16 minutes or something like that.
Not bad. And you did it? You were able to manage it?
Yeah, but it's really unusual. But what is really amazing about it is just the state of consciousness afterwards, It's such a powerful type of yoga to change your state of presence and make you feel remarkably different.
Yes, that's everything you said. Now, I can tackle, because there was a lot in what you said over there. But what I'll start with, most of the yoga the West knows comes from not that many schools of yoga from the south middle part of India, like Pondicherry, Goa, and a few areas. So you have yoga that was very body focused. Hatha, Vinyasa, Ashtanga, they're all similar in how they approach yoga. And it's beautiful how they approach yoga. Most of India, what we do in Kundalini Yoga, what Yogi Bhajan exported out, would be more similar with what yogis in India do. If you watch a video of Baba Ramdev, now when I say similar, I don't mean the kriyas are alike. I mean the style of sitting there, the spinal movements, the breath of fire, alongside a strong Hatha practice are all incorporated. I noticed one thing Yogi Bhajan did was he reduced the amount of Hatha yoga practices over time. In other words, when he first went to the West, they were doing hatha with their breath work and all the practices. Somehow over time, I guess with the advanced knowledge of people, it was more about breath, more about stability, more about unionizing, because yoga is literally the union. What makes Kundalini a little bit different is the yoga comes from a group of yogis called the Nath yogis, which comes from a guru named Guru Gorakhnath. And it passes down from there, and this particular version goes through the Udasi Panth in Punjab. Yeah, I know, I'm talking so much stuff that you have no idea.
It's good to go more in detail, you know?
Yeah, and so from the Udasi Panth, you have breakaways, of course, but because it goes through the Udasi Panth, the mantras got infused with Sikh Guru mantras. And the reason for that is the head of yoga of the Udasi Panth was Guru Nanak's son, the Sikh Guru Nanak's son. And the second leader of the Udasi Panth was the son of the sixth Sikh Guru. His name was Baba Gurditta. So now you have the first two heads of the Udasi Panth, this new sort of school of yoga, and they're both connected very deeply with the Sikh path. So they take the Gur mantras from the Sikh Gurus and incorporate it fully into their school of yoga, and then it keeps getting passed down from there. And that is why the mantras are very different.
Yes, so indeed, and if you are new to yoga, if you've been doing yoga for a while, I always recommend that you try at least one class of Kundalini, because it is one of the fundamental things in yoga for me is that it has an effect on your physical well-being, absolutely, that's very important and very lovely, but also if you keep on doing yoga, you keep on doing it for a while, you'll notice that it does change the way you perceive the world, because it makes you calmer, more present, more in the moment. And particularly if you suffer negative emotions quite regularly, Kundalini Yoga has the potential of help you sublimate them and move your energy up and feel remarkably better. And believe me, once you start doing it, it's very easy to get hooked.
Yeah, it's there. The negative emotions part, the problem with Kundalini, and this must be said, the problem with Kundalini is if you're starting with negativity and you pull yourself energy up, you're going to pull all this shit up too, pardon my language.
Fine.
But if you don't purge these, the first exercises you should focus on is aparna, elimination, and yeah, a lot of elimination, a lot of release, a lot of trauma release should be worked in before you really push forward, because what starts happening then, and I see this with a lot of Kundalini community, having experienced it myself too, mind you, is you raise your energy now, but without realizing it, because the shadow work must be done. You know, incorporating the breath, incorporating the movement, incorporating all these various facets from the school of Kundalini Yoga that serves a purpose.
Like a practice.
Like a practice. So if you say this Kriya is for balancing your head and heart, then the Kriya will have movements to bring that into balance. If you say this is a Kriya to remove, you know, the negative emotions, then there's a Kriya for that. So it's kind of like an app store in that there's an app for everything, right? You have a Kriya for everything. Yeah.
Raj, can you tell us a little bit more about incorporating a yoga practice like Kundalini Yoga into a modern lifestyle? Because of course there are many challenges that are associated to a modern lifestyle, including lots of stimulation, a different kind of stimulation coming from the media, coming from the environment, etc.
Yeah, well actually, you know, that's a really good question, because one of the things of what pushes me towards this side is this idea that I feel, looking at the world, looking out, and I felt it because I didn't feel like I was in charge of my own destiny. In a lot of times. And because if we think about our modern life, right, we wake up, what's the first thing that most people do is going to be looking at the phone or looking at some sort of media to see what the news is. And as soon as we look at these things, we start to have a mindset now, because our thoughts been seeded with whatever was there into us, right? And especially today with the metaverse, like everything is artificial intelligence. They just give us more of the stuff to keep us tuned in, right? So we start our day with that. Then we commute from our homes to wherever it is we work. And through that process, we go through a whole bunch of advertisements, you know, always showing a man or a woman looking really good, looking really graceful, with the product names there. Not important what they're selling. What they are telling you is you're not good enough. The morning sets your mood up. So we are constantly reacting to stimuli, right? We're constantly reacting to stimuli. Wherever we are, even here on this island, we constantly react to stimuli. Now, when we're constantly reacting, it's easy to manipulate this stimuli. And the reason we are done this, and I don't know or believe necessarily in conspiracy theories, but I go in and say, well, there's always something to want to keep us, two things. One, not into our power, and two, to make us a forever consumer.
It's just advertising.
Yeah.
That's just basic advertising, right? Creating a need or a desire to then sell something to fulfill it.
Correct.
No conspiracy at all.
No conspiracy at all. But done at the scale it's done, with all the money that goes into it,
Sure.
You have no sense of self. You're always running around because you always feel inadequate. It is true. Most people in the world I know face this block in one place or the other. And when you have this block, you're unable to fulfill or get into yourself. It doesn't mean like you're suddenly going to stop working hard. There's a difference between struggling and working hard. When you're struggling, it doesn't matter how much you work or how much you earn. You're always feeling it's a struggle. You'll have 1 million, you'll say, I don't have 10 million. You have 10 million, you say, I need the 100 million. You have the 100 million, you say, man, I'm not having the billion. And you always feel like, you know, I don't have that 400 million yacht that guy has, or this guy, and it's non-ending.
It's the chasing of the material success, the external, and in a scarcity mentality where you're never good enough, right?
You're never good enough. And so I feel that by coming in and introducing the tools from the school of Kundalini Yoga to cancel the outside noise, to learn the inside noise, to see how this inside noise is created, be it, and whether you believe it or not, your past lives, your soul, you know, that has lived on and on, it comes with its own biases already when you enter your mother's womb.
And genetics predispositions, all
genetic
sorts of
disposition,
things.
You know,
early life environment.
Exactly, your family, your culture, the culture your family is in. The more modern lifestyle has the national conditioning. This is what it means to be Thai. This is what it means to be Indian. This is what it means to be, you know, and that adds on to the cultural conditioning, the mythological conditioning, the gods, the stories of Jesus, the stories of Guru Nanak, the stories of the Prophet Muhammad. Sure. All that start to come in and start to shape how we are going to interact with reality. By the time we get into our own brains, we have so much conditioning put inside us that we have a limited perspective to the world. So we have, and then our senses too, right? Because we, in the universe of things available, we're only able to interact with the tiniest of the tiniest fraction. And even with all our modern technology, we're only able to expand that. We say like 300-400%, but in the spectrum of available rays, available things, we only see a small spectrum of the universe, and we think we know everything. And
we saw it in a low definition.
Correct.
Because my eyes are not, you know, high-tech eyes, and I cannot see what's happening behind me right now.
Correct.
So I'm always going to have a limited version of reality, just by the way, because of the way I am, pretty much.
Correct. And I think it's important, whether you do Kundalini Yoga or you find another path, to be able to find that center, to be able to observe yourself, observe your actions, and then to be the observer of the observer, or to be able to pull yourself out of a situation to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And to actually say, well, this is, looking at it, I know this and I don't know this, and you move through the path of self-development, you know, and whether it's the tools from this school of Kundalini Yoga or from another place, it's up to an individual where they want to go. But to find that and to be able to stand sovereign in this world is a special thing.
Yes. Yeah. And I think yoga in general, different styles, etc., allow you to indeed work on your inner self a little bit more. Get this split-second moment before reacting to the stimuli.
Correct.
Being able to, be a little bit sheltered from the noise, particularly recognizing the noise as noise and recognizing the effect it has on our nervous system.
Yes.
And consciously deciding to take a step back, take a higher perspective, and having more of a holistic view of things rather than a very narrow, subjective reductionist view where, I am scared today because my boss is meeting me at 2 p.m. And that's all I can think about all the time, which, I feel for that because, it can happen.
We've all been there. Don't think otherwise. We are able to say this because we have been there and we have understand what it is to be feeling constantly not in charge of your own destiny. But this is the funny thing. You can be in charge of your own destiny and also understand you have absolutely no control in your life, and both of these can be true at the same time. Why or how? Well, when you're in charge of your own destiny, you're able to move with your conscious breath and purposeful breath. So that's what Kundalini really builds, because Kundalini builds the nervous system. Everything you mentioned about the nerves, you build the nervous system and you are able to focus the breath where you want to take it. So you are able to make choices for yourself, and you understand the concept of nature of choice. So when you choose something, you understand that it's going to create a new karma or new karma. So that karma that you create will bring a new reality to you and a new reality to you based on each choice you make, whether in this lifetime or past, but mostly this lifetime, because this is the reality, this is the illusion that we are working with today. Actually, not illusion, illusory reality that we are working with today. So as we move forward, the life that we see, hear, taste, feel is moving alongside with our choices. And so the reality we get to come to see is our karma that is bringing it. The seeds we plant today, they show up, and it's not ending. And somehow our karmas have brought us to sit together here, which is very nice. I like sitting with you. You have a very nice energy, graceful, and you seem to have a lot of understanding of yoga, which is pretty amazing. And so we get to sit here and understand that we are in control of our destiny. And at the same time, tomorrow a tsunami can hit, a war can break, people can start fighting for no reason outside of your house. So we have no control over what can happen. A car accident can happen. And when we can accept both of these to be true at the same time, almost you can say that the path of yoga or the union starts to fall into place.
I really like the way you explain it indeed, because I've been myself delving into the notion of free will at length, and I had conversations also interviewing different teachers about it. And it is always puzzling, to try to piece together something like karma or destiny with a conscious free will of me choosing today instead of, watching TV and being completely swayed by the advertising or the models that are represented there, to take a step back, go to nature and meditate instead, And it's a fine line. And I think if there is such a thing as free will, is certainly more present during a period of life when you are more lucid, more clear-minded, maybe you have a broader perspective, you're calmer, more relaxed, your nervous system is in an optimal state.
Yes.
And then if you have a choice facing you, you can, more consciously decide to do A or B. And hopefully it's going to be a better choice than
hopefully,
if you're just totally conditioned by the stimuli.
Even if the thing is, we never know what is a better choice. But the minute we start to take responsibility, the word responsible is not really the right word, but accountability for the choice.
Okay.
We keep it over here. This was our choice. So now that didn't work out. What do we do next? And we keep moving forward, because there's no going back in time. We are limited beings. You and me are both going to die. Earth is going to die. There is nothing that lives forever. We're all limited with this thing. So we always have a chance to move forward and reinvent. Barring big things that are out of our control. Like, we are lucky in this generation to not have to live through a world war. We are lucky in this generation to not have two feudal lords or two kings fight and then go around to all the farms and be like, you, farmer, here's a sword, here's a shield, you're joining the army tomorrow as men.
Oh yeah.
You know, so that ability to co-manifest reality in today's environment is actually better, but also worse because the AI is now taking us in. So it's better. We don't have to deal with a physical soldiers coming and pulling us in. But also, if you're caught here or caught there in the TV or caught in the mass media manipulations, then you're consciously taken in. And so it's good, bad, it's just where we are.
Yes, in relative terms, compared to my grandfather, for sure, yeah. And everything, it's easy to compare in relative terms. In absolute terms, it did, I think, in absolute terms, the quality of the moment you live in, if you are at peace, you're relaxed, or even if there's something that is challenging and you find naturally a way of dealing with it,
correct,
which is not anxious or depressive or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
And then we can surf through the waves of life as gracefully and as well as we can.
Yeah, and that's what brings me here to Koh Phangan, because
that's the next question.
Yeah, that's really what brings me to Koh Phangan. You led to it beautifully.
So tell me, what are your plans in Koh Phangan now?
At first, I'm going to be very honest. At first, I think I just want to go around and see if people here respond to Kundalini Yoga. And not just Kundalini Yoga, because I don't teach Kundalini Yoga necessarily the way the Yogi Bhajan students do. I have learned a lot from the 3HO KRI schools of Kundalini Yoga. I also have a couple of independent teachers of Kundalini Yoga. I also have a Tibetan Kalachakra teacher. I have I have mixed and matched my
Great,
teachers.
incorporating it all.
Yeah, and then I feel like we don't need to be learning by rote. You know what rote means? R-O-T-E. Like, we shouldn't just be taking what somebody else has done and photocopying it and being that, because that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. I think there are some teachings that are very universal, and when we are able to put things together, when we are able to understand the notion of karam, the notion of choice, the notion of omkara or EkOngkar, that the whole universe is one, we are channels, we're limited in space and time, then we can start to develop ourselves, but also develop into people who are seeking to find themselves, a pathway to find themselves. And I feel like there's a lot of people in the world come to Koh Phangan specifically for this reason.
Yeah.
And I feel, well, since I'm in this place where I want to offer this, then I come to this place as well. And Koh Phangan also heals me, because when I'm in need of something, I can go and get healing. There's a lot of healers over here. There's a lot of beautiful, like really beautiful community over here. And there's a lot of amazing spaces over here with sound healing, with breath healing, with so many things Koh Phangan has to offer. And I feel as a teacher, as somebody who's moving forward in this is a good place because it works all ways. And it's a great place to raise my family. My daughter goes to school here. My wife does work remotely here, and it works for us really well. We feel at home here.
That is lovely. Well, Raj, thank you very much for giving us some very good ideas and knowledge around Kundalini Yoga and your experience in life. So it's been a privilege for me to get to know you a little bit more and to be friends as well.
Likewise.
We had a dinner the other day here in the house, also with the family. So
that's how we let up. Thank you, Luca.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Satnam.